Welcome, Richard. Welcome to the New Health Conversation podcast. My name is Peter Greenlaw. I've been a nutritional researcher for 21 years, and today what we're going to discuss is my best-selling book called Why Diets Are Failing Us. And it's not a trick title. With 80% of America overweight and 50% of those people obese, does anyone really think that diets are working? And yet we give you a free research site to go. You can see it there, the New Health Conversation. It's absolutely free to go there. There's no tricks or gimmicks. You can go and you can see the medical proof. We only deal in medical proof. We don't give you opinions. If you want opinions, there's plenty of people on social media that can do that. But today, when we discuss this book, this is what we're going to talk about today. Why diets are failing us. I'm the author of the book. It's my original research. It's not taken from anybody else. We did the research. I've written 4 best-selling books, all with medical doctors. We've done extensive research. And that's why we've made available to you this free research site called the New Health Conversation. You can go there at any time, and you can see all the medical proof. We're going to contrast for you today what we did in Why Diets Are Failing Us. We're going to show you the medical evidence on diets that may shock you, okay? What we proved in the book, that the whole concept of counting calories to lose weight was just completely ludicrous. It didn't work. So, hello Cindy, hello Carrie, hello Kenneth, hello Alice. Burger King, that's an interesting title. But anyway, I want to invite all of you on. This is a podcast. It's not an infomercial. It's live. This is not recorded. So if you do want to ask me questions as we go, then that's totally appropriate. So hello, everyone. What I'm going to discuss with you today is why diets are failing us, because they are. We have 80% of America overweight and 50% are obese, and 50% of Americans are pre-diabetic. Does anyone really think that diets are working? You have lots of influencers that are on social media. But if you boil it all down at the end of the day, what are every single one of them trying to teach you? Hello, Anthony. Hello, Guitar. Hello, Stella. Thanks all for coming on board. My name is Peter Greenlaw. That doesn't mean anything to you, I know, but I've been a nutritional researcher for 21 years. I've written 4 best-selling books with medical doctors. I've done 20 shows on PBS, and I've done over 1,500 lectures all over the world. And what we do at the New Health Conversation is we give you an opportunity to see real medical evidence, real medical proof. No opinions. We don't want to give you opinions. All I can tell you today is what I'm going to share is what we wrote about in the book about these new peer-reviewed human trial studies where men and women with no exercise allowed literally lost as much weight in 7 days as in 8 weeks of any diet. They lost as much weight in a month as people lost in a year on diets. Now, before you say, oh my gosh, it's unhealthy to lose that much weight that fast on a diet it'd be really unhealthy. But in these studies where men and women were not even allowed to exercise, they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass without any exercise at all, as crazy as you may think that is. So I really encourage you, if you want, you can go see real medical proof, not opinions, at the New Health Conversation. So any of you, if you want to ask me questions at any point during this, you're more than welcome to do that. But today, really what we're discussing is the big topic of today, why diets are failing us, because they are. Because can anyone on here put in the chat, can they name a diet that isn't some form of lowering or counting calories? The problem with that is the human body doesn't know what a calorie is. The human body doesn't count calories. Why are you counting calories? Because someone told you to. See, the fallacy in diets, and here's just one of the many articles now that's coming out in medical journals. It says why you shouldn't count calories. Again, not my opinion. Listen to what they say. Truth is, calorie counting is a terrible approach for weight loss. While cutting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. What's even worse, they say, is 2/3 of people who try to count or restrict their calories will gain back more weight than they lost. Why aren't they telling you that? Why are they continuing to tell you that the only way to lose weight is to lower calories when it's completely been debunked over and over and over again? I mean, there's study after study after study. And then let's look at the popular diets, which are all forms. Can anyone, again, I want anyone name a diet out there that's not some form of lowering calories. So let's take a look at one of the big trends right now, time-restricted eating, where you don't eat for 16 hours and you eat for 8, okay? This is a study that was done actually in the Journal of the American Medical Association. Okay? So it's a peer-reviewed human trial study. And what did they say? That Time-restricted eating, new research found that overweight adults who were assigned to routinely fast 16 hours daily gained almost no benefit from it. And over the course of 3 months, they lost an average of 2 to 3.5 pounds, but most of the weight they shed was not body fat, but lean muscle mass. I've heard influencers come on and tell you, well, no, the only thing you lose on time-restricted eating is fat. Really? Where's your medical proof? That's an opinion. And yes, people are losing weight on time-restricted eating. But they already, right here they said, most of the weight they shed was not body fat, but lean muscle mass. That's what you're losing. Do you understand that? That's why when you come on time-restricted eating, paleo, keto, Mediterranean, whatever, you're going to gain all the weight back. I mean, I just read from that other report where they said, calorie count is the terrible approach to weight loss. While counting calories and restricting calories help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. What's even worse, 2/3 of people who try to counter restrict their calories will gain back more weight than they lost. When are they going to start telling the truth? I don't believe they're trying to mislead anybody. They're just wrong. They're flat out wrong. They have nothing to support what they're claiming. Diets are not about lowering calories, because really what a diet's about is consuming less food. And what's in food? Nutrition, which does what? Drives every function in your body, your brain, your kidney, your liver, your heart. And when the body doesn't have enough nutrition, because you've lowered the quantity of food in the false hope that that's going to help you lose weight, your body goes and looks for fuel. And where does it find it? In your organs, in your brain, your kidney, your liver, your heart. But more importantly, in your muscles. It literally breaks your muscles down and converts them into fuel called carbohydrates. And then it does two of the most unhealthy things that can ever happen. Number one, it slows down your metabolism. So now you can't burn as many calories as you did before you started the stupid diet. You come off the diet, you're gaining everything back. But if that's not bad enough, the other thing that's doing to you, it's also interfering with your own immune system. Have we learned anything in the last few years? Is the immune system kind of important to all of us? So for the new people coming on, this is what I'm discussing. Why diets are failing us. I'm the author. I'm the researcher. I've been a researcher for 21 years. I'm proud to say I've written 4 best-selling books, all with medical doctors. And we only deal in facts. Our books are based on real research, not in opinions, not some fancy celebrity diet that has no backing, zero. Isn't it enough just to look at the fact that 80% of Americans are overweight, 50% are obese, and 50% of Americans are pre-diabetic? Does anyone see that as a possibility that maybe diets aren't working for us? Yeah, but let's go deeper. Let's take a look at a big study done in the New England Journal of Medicine. I have it right here. So anything I'm going to share with you, which we did in the books, we backed up everything with medical proof. But here's one of the studies. The New England Journal of Medicine, a 12-month study. We had 2 groups of people. One group, they lowered calories. And I know you're all saying Jim, Sandy, Kelly, Joseph, Kilowatt, Electric. They're all saying, I don't know how to say hi on TikTok. I'm sorry. I really don't know. I'm a researcher. I'm new to TikTok, and we're doing podcasts. I've done lots of television and radio and interviews, etc. And this is a whole new world for me. So please don't think that I'm not interested in what you're saying, okay? But let's look at the New England Journal of Medicine, a 12-month study. They had 2 groups of people. One group, they lowered calories. The other group did time-restricted eating, where they didn't eat for 16 hours and they ate for 8. In the study, after 12 months, the people who lowered the calories lost, big deal, 16 pounds in a year. And time-restricted eating in a year was 12.6 pounds. That's in a year. But listen to the downside right in the report. Both the time-restricted eating and daily caloric restriction diets led to the loss of lean muscle mass. It's every diet. Yeah, you're going to lose weight you could lose it on the Dunkin' Donut diet. I'm not kidding you. But if 40% of what you're losing is your lean muscle mass, and lean muscle mass, do you know how long it takes you to gain back 1 pound of lean muscle, according to the experts? About a year. So let's say you go on a diet and you lose 20 pounds. If 40% of that's lean muscle, that's 8 pounds. It'll take you 8 years to get the lean muscle back if you go to the gym and you do everything right. These diets work until they don't, but they're based on a failed principle. Somehow we're focusing on calories, and who doesn't care about a calorie is your body. Your body doesn't count calories, doesn't know what a calorie is, doesn't care. But we apparently care because every diet out there is some form of counting calories. And I shared with you before, or I'm going to share with you now, this is another huge study. In this case, 48 different studies by the Journal of the American Medical Association. It was a total of 7,286 people over 12 months. And this study was called Comparison of Weight Loss Among Named Diet Programs, meaning, and they listed them, all the major diets. So paleo, keto, Mediterranean, time-restricted eating, fasting, Atkins, lose weight for your blood type, the whole gamut, right? After 12 months, when they looked at the most amount of weight loss on any diet compared to the least amount of weight loss in 12 months, the difference was about 10 ounces. And the weight loss, again, in a year was about 16 pounds. Same as in the New England Journal of Medicine. And up to 40% of what people lost was their lean muscle mass. All these diets are all gaining their weight back. They are. It's not like a long discussion. Now let's take a look, another study on the Mediterranean diet. The number one diet 7 years in a row, according to U.S. News and World Report. Mediterranean diet, after 8 months, the average weight loss was 10.2 pounds in 8 months. And again, up to 40% of what people lost was their lean muscle mass. The study, now let's, the brighter side. In our book, or books, we've written about, well, the first one was called Why Diets Are Failing Us. It started everything back in 2010. There's been 3 updates to this. I've written all these books with medical doctors. My second book, which concern you way more, the TDOS syndrome, is a registered trademark with the U.S. Patent Office. What does it stand for? Toxicity driven by nutritional deficiency, causing you to be overweight, and stress. It's a registered trademark, U.S. Patent Office. Every person on this podcast, every person living, breathing in this world has the TDOS syndrome. Well, what does it mean in layman's terms? It means that we're now living in a toxic world. Maybe you don't believe that. Did you see the article on a study on Starbucks coffee? Came out about a month ago. They said in each cup of Starbucks coffee, you're getting between 50 and 80,000 microplastics in every cup of coffee. But we're drinking, breathe. See, one of the principles is we eat whatever they eat if it's a plant or an animal. So if they've sprayed herbicides and pesticides on a plant, we eat the plant, we get to eat the pesticides. It's just that simple. I mean, that's what's going on. And we now know that these chemicals, which actually have a name, this is a really good book. I didn't write it, called The New American Diet. It was written by Stephen Perrin, editor-at-large at Men's Health. Listen to what they say in this book about these chemicals that we can't avoid them. Oh, by the way, they have a name. They're called obesogens. And they say, that's a scary word and one you've probably never heard before. But if you want to lose weight and keep it off for good and protect your body, your family, and your environment in the bargain, you'll need to understand the term. Simply put, obesogens are chemicals that disrupt the function of our hormonal systems, leading to weight gain and many of the diseases that curse the American populace. They act in a variety of ways, mimicking human hormones such as estrogen, blocking the action of other hormones such as testosterone, and altering the function of our genes and essentially reprogramming us to gain weight. What are you doing about TDOS syndrome? What are you doing about obesogens? What influences is telling you about obesogens? And you wonder why you struggle with maintaining or keeping your weight off? See, in these new studies, they're not new. They're we wrote about it in our books. They proved through blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis that they could assist the body in removing these chemicals. And what was one of the benefits? People lost weight in 7 days. It took 8 weeks on any diet. They lost as much weight in 30 days as people took a year to lose. And instead of losing any water or any lean muscle with no exercise allowed, they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. I know that sounds crazy to you, but look, inevitably it was going to happen. When you've got 80% of the population overweight and 50% obese, I mean, someone was going to come up with an example, because you can't convince me that if 50% of America's overweight, obese, and 50% are pre-diabetic, that what we're doing is working. You can think whatever you want. You can have whatever opinion you want. And your opinion to me doesn't matter. Don't go there. What I'm supplying you is the medical proof. You can see it right there. That's a free research site, the New Health Conversation. It's not a trick. If you go there, we won't even contact you. There's nothing to buy. Only thing there is the science. And an interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world for more than 38 years. You know what they said? They've done 150 studies on all diets you could ever name. All diets. And what did they conclude? On every diet, paleo, keto, Mediterranean fasting, time-restricted eating, carnivore, didn't matter, people lost weight. But two other things happened. Number one, up to 40% of what people were losing was their lean muscle mass. Hi, Lucas. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Casey. Again, I apologize in advance. I don't know how to say hi. I'm saying hi to you. I see you coming there. I'm really concentrating on what I'm sharing with you. These are peer-reviewed human trial medical studies. You can't go higher in medicine than that. But it's not a diet. It doesn't work like a diet. It really is assisting the body in removing the chemicals that we're storing in our fat cells, evidenced by the fact that in 8 weeks with no exercise allowed, people shrank what's called their visceral or the belly fat you'd be familiar with by 33% in 8 weeks with no exercise. Most women on this protocol lost a whole dress size in 7 days. Men lost 2-3 inches in their waist in a week with no sit-ups because no one was allowed to exercise because the researchers didn't want exercise to be an outlier. And yet for free, you can go to that research site, the New Health Conversation. And if you go there, here's another huge bonus. We won't contact you, but if you like what you see, which most people do, you can sign up for a free consultation. Free. You don't have to do anything. Hi, Hazel. Hi, Birdie. And if you like what you see and sign up for a free consultation, you'll do a real consultation, not with someone on an 800 number, but one of our coaches who's done this and has been trained to explain, because here's the thing, we don't know anything about you. Do you want to gain weight? Do you want to, we had a guy with a heart transplant. We got people with no with kidney transplant, with, no thyroids. Everything. And someone, if you're a diabetic, that's a different protocol than someone, let's say, that has high blood pressure. Or just, what about if people want to gain weight? So what happens is you go to the site, see what you think, sign up for the free consultation, and then let me explain the protocol. What did they do? How did they get men and women with no exercise to lose as much weight in 7 days as in 8 weeks of any diet with no loss of water and a gain of 6 to 9% lean muscle mass? They did 4 things. Keep in mind, the researchers had 38 years of experience. So they knew on all diets, people lost weight. On all diets, the weight they were losing was up to 40% was their lean muscle. In all cases, they gained back all their weight or more. So they knew that the age-old thing about, they call it lowering calories, but the human body doesn't know what a calorie is. What they really were talking about was less food consumption. So what did they do that was so unique? They only let people consume 40% of their foods, proteins, fats, carbs, fruits, etc., from the grocery store in the United States. Then the other 60% came from 5 foods from around the world. They came from Russia, Mongolia, Manchuria, from Nepal in the Himalayas, from South America, New Zealand. Now, why did they need to do that? Because those foods forget the amount of calories, they had tremendous amounts of nutrition. This is not supplement. So this is not some lotion, potion pill, or 3 recipes to lose weight. No, it doesn't work like that. So they had 40% of the food from the grocery store, 60% from these 5 foods from around the world. And then they had 2 completely new ways of having people consume food. Number 1, called protein pacing. I'll give you the short version. The short version was they had people consuming protein, very specific amounts at very specific times in very specific orders over about 12 or 14 hours over the course of a day. The complete opposite of something like time-restricted eating, okay? The second thing they did something called intermittent nutritional fasting, not time-restricted eating. And to repeat one more time, you would think that the weight loss, they lost as much weight in a week as 8 weeks of any diet ever tested. They lost as much weight in a month as a year on any diet and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. That was the least important part of this whole thing. You see, the real reason to be doing this that we all need to really be paying attention to is this medical syndrome. Granted, I discovered it, but it's a registered trademark, U.S. Patent Office. They recognize it as a medical syndrome. What does it stand for? The T is for toxicity, the D is for nutritional deficiency, the O for being overweight, and the S is for stress. And every one of you and every person in the world has a TDOS syndrome. And what we now know is that these chemicals, as they enter, they're entering our and program us to gain weight. That's why we're having such a terrible time losing weight. That's why 80% of Americans are overweight. Yeah, we're not eating, food, this fast food, there's not enough exercise, a lot of other reasons. But these chemicals are playing a huge part now in why we have 80% of America overweight, and it's getting worse every year. In 2018, 42% of the population was obese. 6 years later, it's 50%. That's a 24% increase in 6 years. Does anyone really think this is working? Well, in the studies, what else did they find? Well, first of all, they did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis. And they proved that this protocol, first and foremost, was removing the herbicides, the pesticides, and the PCBs from the fat cells. The fat cells, the belly fat cells, shrank by 33% in 8 weeks with no exercise. Then what else will happen? In the first 30 days, blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides came down dramatically. I mean, triglycerides came down 25% in 30 days. But also inflammation for the first time ever, medically proven to come down. Now, I know there's people out there making all kinds of claims, okay? Like carnivore lowers inflammation. Really? Did you do T-bar study? Did you measure C-reactive protein and interleukin-1? And I'm not disparaging them. I'm not against the carnivore. But it's good enough, but it's not extraordinary. It's doing nothing to remove chemicals from our body. I'm breathing them right now. You know, right now we're breathing in the coal, the fumes from the coal-fired power plants in China, the mercury, the cadmium, etc., from about 2 weeks ago. Did you know that? The main reason to consider this is for your health. Unless you think it's a good idea to be carrying these chemicals in your fat cells. What are you doing about getting rid of it? You can go to the free research site. You can see the evidence. It's there. An interview with the number one nutritional researcher in the world, who for 38 years, they've looked at every diet out there. I don't want you to believe Peter Greenlaw. Why would you do that? I'm the researcher of the researchers. Let's be clear. It's not my research. But in the 4 books that I've written, all with medical doctors, the first one being Why Diets Are Failing Us, and then the TDOS syndrome, and then, of course, we came up with the TDOS solutions, and then probably my most, famous book, Your Third Brain, and that's not a trick title. I wrote it with one of the top oncologists in the world, who's also a molecular biologist, who actually worked with 2 men who won the Nobel Prize in medicine. So it's not that I'm the smart one, because I'm not. But I am the researcher of the researchers, and I'm proud that I wrote these. This is for all of us, everybody, you. My God, lest you think I'm insensitive to this, my mother was morbidly obese my whole life. I never knew her thin, I never knew her healthy, but I loved her. She was awesome. And 23 years ago, before I started any of this, she called me up one day and said, you know, Peter, I have one really big wish in my life. I said, Mom, what's that? She said, I would give anything to spend 24 hours thin. I said, wow, Mom, that's cool. 6 months later, massive heart attack and stroke. My mother did about every diet you could imagine. She would cut diets out of the National Enquirer. She'd cut them out of Reader's Digest. She did Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers. She did paleo, keto. She did the grapefruit diet. She did the cabbage soup diet, on and on and on. And I really believe she dieted herself to death. So don't think that I'm insensitive to this. I lived with it my whole entire life. And I can only tell you, back then, of course, there wasn't social media. There wasn't the internet even. But what I would have paid to have been on a phone call with someone to just make me aware that there was a different opportunity, a different approach that had nothing to do with counting calories. So these 7, as a matter of fact, in these 7 studies that we wrote about in our books, they consume more calories than anybody on any diet that they compared it to. And I know you're all skeptical whether it's bird. I'm not picking on any of you. I understand it's normal. That's why we're offering you a free research site. There's no books to buy there. There's nothing to buy there. It's to educate you and then give you an opportunity, again, free, to do a free consultation. What do you have to lose? That's not a pun. And if you like what you see, then they'll go over everything with you. Now, I never finished on what they did in the medical studies, right? I guess I did. So 40% of the food came from the grocery stores, 60% of the food came from around the world. So the fulfillment companies who supplied those 5 foods, not the researchers don't sell anything. They have no dog in the hunt. They have to be independent. They can have nothing to do with what they're analyzing, or it would skewer they'd have no credibility whatsoever. But the fulfillment companies who supplied the 5 foods in the first 30 days offer a 100% money-back guarantee, including they'll pay return shipping. Again, what do you have to lose? What's holding you back? I know it's your skepticism. I get it. I understand it's your skepticism. But aren't you curious enough to see irrefutable evidence that you really can lose as much weight in 7 days as in 8 weeks of a diet? While gaining lean muscle. Most women lose all dress size in the first 7 days. That's without exercise. I mean, do any of you feel like you have a solution long term? You know what the program's called? R2M. You know what it stands for? Race to maintenance. Race to maintenance. So it's not about losing the weight. I mean, I lost 40 pounds 21 years ago. I've kept it off for 21 years. Doesn't that sound exciting? And again, for the new people joining, this is what we've been talking about. Why diets are failing us. Because they are. I mean, the numbers are ridiculous at 80% of America overweight and 50% obese and 50% pre-diabetic. But here's the one that's even scarier. The CDC now says 92% of us are metabolically unhealthy with 3 of 5 factors. Overweight, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol, high triglycerides. Do you know all 5 of those came down dramatically just in 30 days with no one exercising? The reason to do this is to maximize your quality of life potential. The reason to do this is not to fit in your skinny jeans. That's a given. That's going to happen anyway. So, in closing this podcast out today, I want to invite you. Go to the research site, the New Health Conversation. I promise you, if you go there, we won't contact you. We don't need to contact you. But if you go to the site, you scroll through, you'll see everything. You'll see the medical studies. You'll see an interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world. You'll see before and afters I can't show on social media because they would ban me and say we photoshopped them, which we didn't. And then it has a little form. It says, schedule a free consultation. And it's free. It's not a trick or a gimp. We don't need to do that. But people willy-nilly, they're handing over cash to these influencers that are going to give you their recipes for losing weight. They don't work, everyone. This was a bestseller 14 years ago. Granted, there's been 3 updates in, but all we're giving you is medical proof. You can do whatever you want to do. I mean, I read before from this study here should convince you. Not me. Journal of American Medical Association, 12-month study on it was called Comparison of Weight Loss Among Named Diet Programs. So they named them all. Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, Paleo, Keto, Time-Restricted Eating, Fasting, Atkins, Lose Weight for Your Blood Type, etc. Oh, by the way, it was a study of 48 different studies, 7,286 people. In a year's time, no matter what the diet was, from the most amount of weight loss to the least amount of weight loss in a year, that's 12 months, was 10 ounces. The weight loss over the 7,200 people over a year was 16 pounds, and about 40% of what they were losing was lean muscle mass. I mean, again, you can do whatever you want to do. My job is not to try and convince you of anything. It's way too tiring. And for any of you that, think, I don't know, it doesn't matter what you think about me. You don't like my glasses, you don't like my shirt. It doesn't matter. Science doesn't care about any of it. It's not going to wait for any of us. You can embrace what's not working. If you're part of the 20% that's not overweight, congratulations. But there's a new term that should frighten you. It's called normal weight obesity. Further defined as visceral obesity, meaning you have 2 kinds of fat on your body. The outer layer is called subcutaneous or adipose, but the underlying fat, the fat that's around your organs, that's called visceral fat. That's where the body's storing these chemicals. So you could look perfectly thin on the outside, and inside, when they look at how much visceral fat you have in relation to your muscle mass, you'd be considered obese. Those aren't my terms. And again, if you're thin, if you're part of the 20%, what are you doing about removing the chemicals from your body? What are you doing about dealing with the TDOS syndrome, which the patent office recognizes as a new medical syndrome? It's not a copyright. It's a registered trademark. It's a big, big deal. And what did we do for you? We created a free research site. There's no books to buy there. We put the data from the books on the site so you can go and see it for free. That's how convinced we are that if you'll take the time for yourself, I promise, if you go there, you'll be shocked. You've never seen anything like it. No sales hype, no infomercials, just the real data, the real proof. And that interview with the #1 nutritional researcher in the world, wouldn't you be curious about what he says about after 38 years of research, looking at over 150 studies of pretty much every diet out there? When he says they'll never recommend any form of traditional diet that you're all on ever again. He said it would be unethical for us. Our patients, we're going to have them spend 8 weeks going on a diet and losing up to 40% of their lean muscle mass, which we saw over and over and over and over again in 38 years on every diet we ever analyzed, versus this where people lost weight in 7 days that took 8 weeks on a diet, lost as much weight in a month as a year on a diet. But these people lost no water and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. Doesn't that sound interesting? Aren't you at least a little bit curious? It's up to you. But I would say this, that you really, really could change your life if you just took a few minutes. Make yourself a to-do list. Put yourself at the top of your to-do list. Have you got a little bit of time to go there and really... There's a 20-minute video showing you exactly, here are the foods they ate, this is what they did, etc. And then on top of that, if you like what you see, you can sign up for a free consultation. And the fulfillment company that supplied 5 of the foods in the studies offer a 100% money-back guarantee. I know it sounds too good to be true. I get it. Trust me, every day I get the feedback. Oh, I'm a snake oil salesman. Really? I don't really know where to buy snake oil. Maybe somebody can tell me. But what they're really saying is they don't believe in science. What they're really saying is that by saying, ridiculous things like that, I guess that makes them feel good. But the reality is, the bottom line is, the medical peer-reviewed human trial studies, they don't have any emotions, unlike me. They don't have an agenda. They just are. Is it interesting that there is no other diet, nutrition, supplement program in the world that on their own, did their own peer-reviewed human trial? They didn't do them. I mean, they subjected themselves. So the studies that are being done are not, they weren't suggested by someone doing paleo or keto or time-restricted eating. But the medical community finally says, we got 80% of America overweight and 50% are obese. We have more diets than ever. Maybe we better look into this and see what's going on. Well, what they found shocked them. Like that one study I showed you, 48 different studies, 7,200 people of every diet pretty much out there. And what was the conclusion? That all diets at the end of a year, there was a 10-ounce difference. Well, wait a minute. What about someone that needs to lose 100 pounds? What are they doing? So, in conclusion, what I would say to all of you is that you have a free opportunity. Free. You can go to that research site or not. It's right there. You can see it at the bottom. It's spelled out, the New Health Conversation. And you'll notice it's a registered trademark, U.S. Patent Office. It's a medical condition that everybody needs to know about. I'm sorry, the New Health Conversation is not a medical condition. I'm sorry. The movement, that's the TDOS syndrome. That's what I meant to say. This right here, that's a registered trademark also of toxicity, D for deficiency, O for being overweight, and S for stress. Every one of you have it. Every person in the world has TDOS syndrome, whether you want to know it or not. And there is no diet, exercise program out there that's ever been proven to address the chemicals that we're storing in our body as a way for us to survive. Our bodies are evolving. It's not just that people are overweight, but the amount of fat they have is really sad. It's not about doing sit-ups and crunches and whatever. I see these people on social media. There's a woman, I think she weighed, 500 pounds, and she's all excited. In a week, she lost a pound. I can't tell you, or they would ban me. I can say this. In the studies, people lost weight 12 times faster than any diet that's ever been analyzed. They lost in 30 days, like no kidding, what it took people a year to lose in a diet. And The analysis included looking at water. That was not what they lost no water. And they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass and shrank their visceral. That visceral fat shrank. Look, your fat cells don't go away, but you can shrink them. They went down by 33% in 8 weeks. Heck, when I did this 21 years ago, I lost 8 inches off my waist in 18 days with not going to the gym. I went from 42 to 34-inch waist, which I still am today, 21 years later. All of you struggle with what everybody does. Sounds too good to be true. It can't possibly be true. And I say this, just because it wasn't invented doesn't mean it wasn't possible. I still don't have any clue. How does GPS work? What do you mean, car up ahead? Think of the things that we take for granted now that, 20 years ago would look like science fiction, even the internet. What? How do you type something and it's in Europe in a nanosecond? How are we on this? How are we doing social media? How are we doing TikTok? I mean, this is crazy. So why would you not think that it was possible for someone to come up with the magic bullet for health and weight loss that was completely safe, that was backed up medically? I mean, things we have now today are amazing. Lasers, arthroscopic surgery for everything from knees to hearts to, it's crazy. Pacemaker, I mean, all this stuff we have, we just, kind of take it for granted. That's how this is. This is just so far advanced that people, I understand why they question it. We have a nutritional researcher person on the phone. I mean, on the line right now. And I think I've talked to him. He actually saw me on social media and called me up and said, my God, this is amazing. He was schooled. He's been, he's helped, thousands of people. So none of it's my opinion. And you can hold on to whatever opinion you want about, well, I know how to lose weight. I'm going to do carnivore. I'm going to do paleo. I'm going to do... There's nothing wrong with that, except at the end of the day, was it sustainable? And what kind of weight did they lose? The research says that about 40% of what they lost, or up to 40%, I should say, was lean muscle mass. And 2 catastrophic things happen when you lose lean muscle mass. You don't have a choice. Your body slows down your metabolism. And it also interferes with your own immune system. My goodness, how bad does it have to get before we, what? Yeah, Ken, I know you're saying hi. Honestly, I don't know how to do it. I'm not a TikTok aficionado. I'm a researcher. And, I've started to do these podcasts because prior to COVID, I'd done over 1,500 lectures live in person all over the world. I've even been to China. I mean, so when everything shut down, then first I had to learn Zoom. And then, thank goodness I found TikTok and social media in general has really allowed me to reach out to so many more people. But think about it. We're providing you a free research site. And then we provide you a free consultation. And we're not going to pressure you to buy anything. That's ridiculous. And by the way, you get coached for free. And the 5 foods, so 60% of your food is 60% of the food you used to buy at the grocery store. You're only buying 40% of the food you used to buy. But even the 60%, the 5 foods that come from all over the world, the fulfillment companies who supply those 5 foods offer you a 100% money back guarantee. I know it sounds like a pun. I mean, what do you have to lose? Or what do you have to gain? Not in terms of weight, but in terms of knowledge. For some reason, no, I know what the reason is. I know that you're skeptical and it sounds too good to be true. And all we can do is present you with the facts. All we can do is present you with the real science. All we can do is just show you on that site, free. You'll see the before and afters. They'll shock you. You will think it's Photoshopped. It's not Photoshopped. And I'm so proud of what we've done. And I'm so proud, some of you weren't on before when I'll tell one last time the short story about my mom. My mother was morbidly obese my whole life. I never knew her thin and I never knew her healthy and I loved her. She was awesome. And 23 years ago, before I became a researcher, and one of the reasons I did, she called me up one day and said, Peter, I have one wish in my life not before she died. She just said, in my life. I said, okay, Mom, what's that? She said, I would give anything if I could just spend 24 hours thin. 6 months later, massive heart attack and stroke. My mother did about every diet, at least was available 23 years ago. The grapefruit diet, the cabbage soup diet, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, OptiFast. She'd cut, she used to, in the grocery store, in the Globe, and in National Enquirer, she'd cut diets out of there. She tried everything. I'd see her lose 20 pounds, gain 25 back, lose 25, gain 30 back. Maybe some of you can experience that. But now we have the medical evidence explaining what was going on. Every time my mom was losing lean muscle mass. So the next time she went on a diet, it was more and more difficult for her to lose weight. So she became more and more extreme, fewer and fewer and fewer calories. And it just forced the body in starvation mode. And in starvation mode, what you're going to burn is not fat. You're going to burn your lean muscle. We know this to be true. This isn't an opinion. So one last time, I would invite all of you, put yourself at the top of your to-do list. And you can see it right there on the screen, the New Health Conversation. It's a free research site. There's nothing to buy there. We're not going to contact you. But I hope you'll take the time for yourself to go through everything that's there, because then it'll allow you to at least decide, wow, this is really for real. Well, when you're talking about peer-reviewed human trial studies, they're basically irrefutable. So if you want to argue with them, that's great, but that's not, the medical world has accepted it as fact. And I think that you will be shocked if you go there. So anyway, the New Health Conversation, I would encourage any and all of you to go there, see what you think, and if you like what you see, schedule a free consultation, okay? So everybody have a wonderful night. I'm going to close this out now.